Okay, let's unpack this. Welcome to the deep dive.
Hey there.
We take a whole stack of sources, boil them down, and pull out the bits you really need to know.
And today we're diving into something, well, it's on a lot of people's minds. AI.
Specifically, how AI systems actually work, or maybe, perhaps more honestly, how we don't always know how they work.
Yeah, acknowledging those limits.
Yeah.
Right? And interestingly, seeing how familiar those limits might actually feel.
Looking from a really interesting text today, it looks at AI consciousness, which is a huge topic in itself.
Definitely.
And our comfort level, with these super complex systems we build, but maybe don't fully grasp.
So our mission here is to pull out the key insights, the core arguments from this source.
Exactly, and explore some surprising parallels it draws.
Yeah.
Especially between AI and, well, humans.
The goal. Hopefully you walk away with a clearer, maybe less anxious perspective on it all.
Okay, so where does this source kick things off?
Well, it starts with that common observation, doesn't it? People ask, how does this AI work?
All the time, especially the big ones, right? The large language models behind things like ChatGPT or other chatbots.
Precisely. And the source notes that often we just don't have a simple, clear answer. We kind of hit a wall.
Which can feel unsatisfying, I think.
Absolutely. But then right away, the source flips the script a bit. It draws this parallel. While we're puzzling over the AI black box, we also still don't fully understand how human thinking works. Not really.
Ah, right. That's a great point. We know our consciousness, our thoughts, it's natural biological.
It comes from billions of neurons firing away in our brains. Immense complexity.
But the how does that physical stuff create this subjective feeling of being me, thinking my thoughts, feeling things?
That's still fundamentally mysterious, isn't it? Even to neuroscientists.
So this kind of shared mystery leads the source to the big AI question.
Are these systems conscious now? Or, could they become conscious down the line?
And the source points out the immediate challenge there.
Yeah, if we don't fully get human consciousness, how can we possibly measure it accurately in an AI? What's the yardstick?
It really does feel like trying to measure something without the right tool.
And it pushes this even further with the animal analogy.
Right, animal consciousness. Can we truly define, how conscious your cat is? Or a dog? Or dolphins, even?
Is their internal world, their experience, exactly the same as ours? Probably not.
We assume there's something going on in there, but we can't really articulate what it's like.
Exactly. And the source uses this. It says, okay, based on that, maybe AI consciousness, if it emerges.
It wouldn't necessarily be like ours.
It could be different. Just as a dolphin's experience is likely different from ours, we shouldn't automatically expect AI thought, even complex thought, to mirror human experience.
So the first big takeaway here is that maybe we need to get comfortable with this idea of the black box.
Yeah, it's not just AI. Our own minds are kind of black boxes too, in a way.
It reframes the whole AI question, putting it in this broader context of complex systems we don't fully understand.
Okay, so from that kind of abstract mystery.
Let's get practical. The source shares a really concrete story about a system the creator actually built.
Yes, the universal installer.
Sounds important. What did it do?
It tackled a very real-world problem, rolling out updates to lots and lots of SQL databases.
Ah, okay, like the digital filing cabinets that lots of apps use.
Exactly. And these databases were spread out all over the place geographically.
Sounds like a logistical nightmare to do manually.
Totally. So this system had a complex job. It had to figure out if updates were right for each database, apply them in the right sequence.
And back things up first, right? That seems crucial.
Absolutely. Back up first, and critically, be able to restore that backup if an upgrade went wrong.
Okay, so a complex, important system, but not AI, right?
No, not AI.
Yeah.
The creator knew exactly how it worked, line by line, but here's the fascinating part the source highlights. The testing.
How so?
The creator knew the internals, but the test team, they had a completely different view.
They didn't care about the code.
Pretty much. They didn't want to test little bits in isolation. Their whole focus, according to the source, was the outcome.
Just does it work in the real world?
Exactly. Test it with an actual software release. Does it do the job? Does it meet our needs? Does it deliver the expected result? The how was secondary.
Huh. That's really interesting.
And the source connects this directly. This experience, years before AI was everywhere, apparently showed the creator how people might eventually approach AI.
Focusing on the output, the result, not the internal nuts and bolts.
Precisely. Does it give me the useful thing I need? For many users, that's the bottom line. The internal workings, well, they become less relevant.
That makes a lot of sense, actually.
And the source pushes the analogy again and points out, hey, we do this with humans too, don't we?
How do you mean?
Think about working with, say, talented programmers or analysts. Do we always know exactly how they come up with a brilliant idea or a solution?
No, definitely not. Sometimes it feels like magic. You get the great result, but you weren't inside their head watching the gears turn.
But does that stop us working with them or using their successful ideas?
No, of course not.
We collaborate based on their ability to deliver valuable outputs, right? Their track record.
So the universal installer story, it really highlights how our comfort often depends on reliable output, not necessarily perfect understanding of the process.
And the source suggests maybe that's a useful lens for thinking about AI too.
Okay, but if we're okay working with human black boxes based on output, why the extra maybe nervousness around AI?
That's a good question the source tackles. It suggests maybe, just maybe, it's because with older systems, non-AI systems.
We had this idea that someone, somewhere, understood every line of code, even if it wasn't us.
Right, even if it was incredibly complex. Compare that to, say, the CPU in your computer right now.
Uh-oh. Yeah, I have no idea how that actually works at the transistor level.
And very few people do. But we use it constantly. So maybe it's about our comfort level with systems being fundamentally opaque, even to the experts.
Which leads naturally to that big worry about AI.
What if it does something unexpected? Something we don't want?
The rogue AI fear, basically.
But the source immediately throws back a comparison. Think about the last time a human did something you didn't expect or didn't want.
Ugh. Okay, point taken. Happens all the time.
Right. Unpredictability, doing things others find unwanted or even unacceptable. That's kind of a feature of humans, unfortunately.
So how do we deal with that?
Well, the source reminds us we've built entire societies around managing it. We have rules, laws, social norms, monitoring systems.
Checks and balances, ways to handle things when people go off script.
Exactly. They're not perfect systems, obviously, but they generally help manage the chaos, or at least alert us when things go wrong.
Okay, I see where this is going.
Given that parallel, the source draws a logical conclusion. We probably need similarly functional rules and monitoring for AI systems too.
To avoid chaos, whether the intelligence is biological or artificial.
That seems to be the argument. Without some kind of governance, some process, things can get messy.
But I wonder, are the same tools applicable? Can you apply human social norms to a machine? That seems like the tricky part.
The source doesn't give a step-by-step guide, no.
Oh.
But it emphasizes the need for these functional processes. It frames it as a governance and management challenge.
Less about the unique nature of AI itself and more about how we choose to integrate and oversee it.
Yes, AI unpredictability isn't presented as this totally new, unsolvable problem, but as a management problem.
One we actually have a lot of experience with just from dealing with each other.
Millennia of experience, arguably.
Okay, so let's try and pull these threads together. What does this all mean?
Well, we started with that shared mystery, right? Understanding AI isn't so different maybe from the mystery of understanding human minds.
Then we saw that practical angle. Often what matters most is the output, the result, not necessarily knowing every detail of the process, like with the universal installer or even with human colleagues.
And finally, the unpredictability factor. It's real, but it's also something we already manage or try to manage with humans.
Using rules, oversight, monitoring.
So the source seems to be suggesting we need similar frameworks for AI, not because it's alien, but because it's another complex, potentially unpredictable system we need to interact with.
It sort of reframes the AI challenge, doesn't it? Makes it feel less like science fiction, maybe, and more like another complex system integration challenge.
Yeah, surprisingly similar in terms of the types of challenges to how we navigate life with other people every single day.
Which brings us to the source's final, quite direct thought. It leaves it right there for you, the listener.
Which just asks, if we've managed somehow to cope with other humans, despite not knowing exactly how they think or decide things.
Will working with AI systems really be that much more of a leap?
Food for thought.
Indeed, food for thought.
Thanks for tuning in for this deep dive.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. We hope this gave you some new angles to consider.